So with our bellies full and anticipation at a high, I'd like to hand over at this point to the chair of our judging panel, Jason Ryan, and invite him to the stage. Jason is a public sector hacker and contributor to various open source projects and communities. He's also presenting the award for open source use in government this evening. So as a judge, he'll be going first and leading the way. So I'll hand over to you, Jason.
Thank you, Catherine. This is the second time I've had the privilege to chair the judging the Open Source Awards, and to fork a phrase, it is the best of times and the worst of times. It's the best of times because this year has seen a record number of nominations, so they pour in from all parts of Aotearoa. They are incredibly diverse. They represent an amazing array of talent, commitment, passion, inspiration, and it is literally a privilege to be able to sit through and consider them all. And I'm sure I speak for all of the judges when we say how thrilled we were to be part of that process. It's the worst of times because out of all of those nominations, you have to whittle them down to a short list of finalists, and out of those finalists you have to come up with some winners. And it's literally like looking at 120 of your children and deciding which one you're going to give the nod to. There's something clannish about that. Anyway, we are a relatively small country, and so the judging does present its own difficulties in terms of our conflicts. So what happens is, when you do have a conflict, you declare it, and then you take part in the discussion robustly. And then when it comes time for casting the votes, you step aside and let your colleagues make the final decision. That's the nuts and bolts of it. So with that out of the way, the other thing I wanted to say was all of the decisions were unanimous. There was, once we did get down to our favourite children, we agreed that they were the ones that we were going to bestow our gifts upon. So with the details out of the way, I'd like to move on to the award, the New Zealand Open Source Award for Open Source Use in Government for 2016. The first finalist is Digital NZ, National Library's venerable program. The second one is New Zealand Herald for FYI.org, which is open official information requests as a service. And finally, the last finalist is Sensibel, which is an amazing project of Internet of Things on bikes informing public policy decision. That's the future in one sentence. And the winner of the 2006 award for open source use in government is Digital NZ, National Library of New Zealand.
Finally, we've been here before. So our journey with open source began more than 8 years ago when we decided to build our services on top of a fully open stack. And I guess the big step forward we took only happened when we had a request from the Singaporean government to share our technology. And we'd always wanted to release our code, but we'd just kind of never got round to it. And that really spurred us on. And at the time, we had some really significant support from Francois Marae and Richard Hulse, and I just want to give them a shout out because they gave us a lot of support at the time. So with our code finally out there, we then saw a bunch of different organisations pick it up, evaluate it. This is in the US, Hong Kong, a little closer to home as well. I think by far the most satisfying implementation we saw was from our friends at Ngā Taonga Sound and Vision though. And I really want to thank them for picking up Supplejack and working with it. And I think to know that another New Zealand agency is picking up your code and getting value from it, and we paid for it, but they're getting benefit from it, I think that's what's really satisfying. So I also want to thank the Department of Internal Affairs and National Library for creating an environment where it was possible for us to share this. I think, doing some of this within government has been challenging at times, but I do think that's changing, and I think the message is starting to get through. Just a couple of other final thank yous. A big thank you to Boost New Media, who have been our development partners for a very long time, and we wouldn't have been able to do this without them. Having a team of developers who are as passionate about this stuff as we are is really important, so thank you. I'm really proud of the Digital New Zealand team at the National Library. And lastly, I just want to thank the organisers and the sponsors tonight. I think this is a really important award. I think for me personally, we've won a few awards over the years, but this is quite special, and I think it helps us stay open. So thank you.
Send you this way. You guys.